Colonel General Alexander Fomin, who announced the withdrawal of Russian troops from the Kiev region in the spring of 2022, will step down as Russia's Deputy Defense Minister, sources told RBC. According to them, a corresponding decree has already been prepared. Fomin, 66, was part of the team that negotiated with the Ukrainian delegation in Istanbul in 2022 and 2025. If the dismissal is confirmed, it will be the sixth Deputy Defense Minister to be dismissed from former Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu's team. In the 1990s, Fomin worked at Rosvooruzheniye the Federal Agency for Military Technical Cooperation, and then transferred to Rosoboronexport. In 2004, the military man was appointed deputy head of the Federal Service for Military Technical Cooperation, which he subsequently headed from 2012 to 2017, after which he was appointed Deputy Minister of Defense. Fomin is the head of the Main Directorate for International Military Cooperation and the National Center for Nuclear Risk Reduction of the Ministry of Defense. In March 2022, during talks in Istanbul, the general announced that Russia had decided to drastically, significantly reduce military activity in the Kyiv and Chernihiv areas. He explained that the decision was made due to the fact that negotiations with Ukraine are moving into a practical phase. Following this, the withdrawal of the Russian army from the Kyiv and Chernihiv regions began, completing in early April. The Kremlin called this a goodwill gesture. According to RBC, Fomin's position could be taken by 42-year-old Vasily Osmakov, first Deputy Minister of Industry and Trade. The specific responsibilities he will be assigned are still unclear. Osmakov studied at Lomonosov Moscow State University as an Orientalist, Africanist, and Arabic translator. Since 2004, he has held various positions at the Ministry of Industry and Energy. From 2008 to 2012, he served as an assistant to the minister, after which he headed the Ministry of Industry and Trade's Department of Strategic Development and Project Management. In 2016, Osmakov was appointed Deputy Minister, and in 2021, First Deputy Minister. Sources in Vedomosti reported in early September that the official might transfer to the military department. Following the dismissal of Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu in May 2024 and his exile to the Security Council, dismissals and arrests of members of the former minister's inner circle began. On June the 17th, First Deputy Minister Ruslan Salikov, State Secretary and Deputy Minister Nikolai Pankov, and Shoigu's deputies Tatiana Shevtsova and Pavel Popov were dismissed. A few days later, Timur Ivanov, who had been arrested in April 2024 on charges of a $1 billion bribe, was dismissed from his post as Deputy Minister due to a loss of confidence. From 2013 to 2016, he headed the Ministry of Defence's largest construction holding company, Rosoboronexport.
Hungary's nationalist Prime Minister Viktor Orbán on Friday lauded Budapest as the host of upcoming talks between U.S. President Donald Trump and Russia's Vladimir Putin. According to Associated Press, Trump on Thursday announced his second meeting this year with Putin a day before he was to sit down with Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelenski at the White House. A date for the meeting in Hungary has not been set, but Trump said it would take place in the capital, Budapest, and suggested it could happen in about 2 weeks. Orbán is a close Trump ally and considered Putin's closest partner in the European Union. He suggested to Hungary's state broadcaster on Friday that his opposition to the West supplying Ukraine with military and financial aid to assist in its defense against Russia's invasion had played a role in making Budapest the site of the talks. For 3 years, we have been the only country that has consistently, openly, loudly, and actively advocated for peace, Orbán said. Since Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, Hungary has refused to supply Ukraine with weapons or allow their transfer across its borders. Orbán has threatened to veto certain EU sanctions against Moscow and held up the bloc's adoption of major EU funding packages to Kiev. Meanwhile, Hungary has actively resisted weaning off of Russian fossil fuels that help fund Moscow's war, and, in contrast to almost all of the EU's other 26 countries, has even increased its supplies since the 2022 invasion. The upcoming meeting in Budapest comes after Trump failed to secure an agreement to end the war in Ukraine during an August meeting with Putin in Alaska. Falling short of his campaign pledge to quickly stop the bloodshed, Trump rolled out the red carpet for the man who started it.
Akit köszöntök a stúdióban. Jó reggelt kívánok!
Jó reggelt kívánok!
Mikor, hogyan és kitől tudta meg, hogy Budapest lesz a helyszín?
Ha Európában akarták, és az orosz-ukrán háború mégiscsak egy Európában zajló háború, és ránéztek a térképre, és megnézték a vezetőket, akkor az hamar kiviláglik, hogy Budapest lényegében az egyetlen hely ma Európában, ahol egy ilyen találkozót meg lehet tartani.
Ennyi idő az előkészületekre, mert ugye Trump szerint 2 héten belül már létre is jöhet a találkozó.
Ugye 3 év óta mi vagyunk az egyetlen ország, amely konzekvensen végig, nyíltan és hangosan, sőt cselekvő módon a béke mellett állt, hol meg lehet tartani egy ilyen találkozót, lásd Alaszka. Na most, ha azt nézzük, hogy az Unió hogy jön a képbe, hát miután mindenki háborúpárti bennünket leszámítva, ők logikusan kimaradtak ebből a csúcsból, de nem szabadnak kimaradniuk a békéből. Tehát én továbbra is azt szorgalmazom, hogy nekünk, európaiaknak ugyanazt kellene tennünk, amit az amerikai elnök tesz. Nekünk tárgyalni kellene az oroszokkal.
A békepárti álláspontja miatt, vagy egyáltalán amiatt, hogy mondjuk az érintett szereplőkkel, Vladimir Putyinnal is tárgyalt?
Ha most külpolitika, szakmai szempontból nézzük, hogy miért itt lesz ez a csúcs, akkor ezt úgy is megfogalmazhatom, hogy mi voltunk az egyetlen olyan európai ország, hogy kezdetektől fogva azt mondta, hogy a háború rossz dolog, de ez nem ok arra, hogy bezárjuk a diplomáciai csatornákat. Ha nincs diplomáciai csatorna, ha azokat nem tartjuk nyitva, sosem lesz béke. Tehát a legfontosabb tanulság az európaiak számára, hogy az, amit csinálunk rossz, a háborús stratégiák elhibázott, békés stratégiára van szükség, segíteni kell az amerikai elnököt, és mellette egy önálló európai-orosz diplomáciai csatornát is meg kellene nyitni.
Enyhülhetnek az Európai Unióból érkező kritikák, az a nyomás, amit onnan tapasztalunk a békepárti álláspont miatt?
Ha ez a közel-keleti béke bekövetkezhetett, a tuszok hazamehettek, ha lesz egy Trump-Putyin elnöki találkozó Budapesten, akkor miért ne hihetnénk abban, hogy az európaiak is a józanész útjára lépnek.
És a magyarok állandó értekezletéről is kérdeztem Orbán Viktor miniszterelnököt.
Hundreds of residents of western Alaska coastal villages ravaged by storms arrived in Anchorage on Thursday in one of the most significant airlifts in Alaska history. According to Associated Press, the residents were being housed at a Red Cross evacuation shelter at the Alaska Airlines Sports Center at the University of Alaska Anchorage campus. The storm brought record-high water to 2 low-lying Alaska Native communities and washed away homes, some with people inside. At least 1 person was killed and 2 are missing. Makeshift shelters were quickly established and swelled to hold about 1,500 people, an extraordinary number in a sparsely populated region where communities are reachable only by air or water this time of year. The communities of Kipnuk and Kwigillingok near the Bering Sea saw water levels more than 6 feet above the highest normal tide line. Some 121 homes were destroyed in Kipnuk, a village of about 700 people. Julia Stone, a village police officer in Kipnuk, was working at the school as the winds suddenly picked up. People started showing up at the building, and her on-call police cell phone began ringing with calls from people in need, some whose houses were floating. They were drifting away, she said. Stone said she tried to reach search and rescue teams and others to determine if there were available boats to help, but described the situation as chaos. Members of her own family, including her son, Alexei, were at home when their house also started drifting. Alexei Stone estimates it moved a few feet. Alexei Stone likened the moving house to a big earthquake, especially with water. They were worried a glass window would break, and breathed a sigh of relief when a floating shed turned away from the house. Alaska natives living a subsistence lifestyle spend the summer hunting and fishing to stock up for the coming winter. Alexei Stone said they lost all their food. They lost 3 freezers full of food, including fish, moose and goose, he said.